Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Derwin, and I'm here with Shane Buell. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, which happened yesterday, the 10th of September. I'm going to discuss some possible motives, and then we're going to go into the logistical, some of the footage that was caught by the people there and what may have happened. So as of today, they don't have a suspect in custody. Very recently, the FBI said they found a weapon that was discarded in the woods nearby, but it seems like the shooter has gotten away. So let me just show, some of the footage. We had to black out the actual impact just because for YouTube, but here's the one from a distance.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Oh my God. Wait, Cody, go, run. Oh.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Oh my God.
There are at least 2 or 3 other angles where it's very up close and extremely explicit. You can see the impact and him falling and, what happens after. Maybe we could put some links. I just didn't want to show that just because it's just a little too explicit. But he was rushed to the hospital and pronounced dead shortly after. So a lot of very unusual things around this. For example, they took a kind of an older man into custody. Turns out that wasn't him, but he was acting very strange when they were detaining him. He was saying, "Shoot me, shoot me." I don't know, his pants were down. Did you see that? Very unusual.
It was weird.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but it turned out that he was not the person, but it seems like he might have been a distraction to help the actual shooter get away. And, with this, we might not know the identity of the person, especially with seeing this post. Someone said that a jet, and they have the number of the plane, that it left shortly after, and the tracking, the radar was turned off. So there's a chance that this person is not even in the country or in this state. Okay, so I'm going to start out with, which seems to be a very popular opinion, which is the motive or the entity that is behind this. And this is where my mind went right away. I wasn't extremely familiar with Charlie Kirk's opinions. I just knew the basics. He was a conservative. He was a Trump supporter. He was pro-Israel. But I did dig into the interviews he's had. And the one that really caught my eye is the Megyn Kelly interview. And he did this on
October 13th. No.
August 6th of this year.
Okay.
So just about a month ago. So this was very recent.
You go under 35, you have almost zero support across the United States, your closest ally. I see what's happening, and it's my job to comment honestly on it. But I am sick of being lectured on, like, you have to see it exactly as we see it and support everything, or you're against us.
This is what they don't understand. You and I, Megyn, and Tucker is in the same category, and they've tried to go after Tucker.
Yeah.
Is that the more you attack our moral character, the more we're going to double down in a direction, because 100%. Screw you, I don't do it that way, okay?
Right.
Like tell me I'm wrong. Cool. Tell me if I've got my facts wrong. By the way, on the Epstein thing, Naftali Bennett says he wasn't an Epstein agent. We have to be pursuers of truth. They've denied it. Fine. Let's keep digging. Okay. It is all of a sudden, Charlie is he's no longer with us and all that. I said, wait a second, what do you mean? What does with us mean exactly, right? I'm an American, okay? Like, I represent this country. The more that you guys privately and publicly call our character into question, which is not isolated, right? Megan, it would be one thing if
That's
it was
right.
one text or two texts. It is dozens of texts.
Yes.
Then we start to say, hold the boat here. And to be fair, some of my really good Jewish friends are like, that's not all of us, it's all, but these are leaders too, though, right? These are stakeholders, right? And so, look, I'm afraid because when the hostile reaction is that now Meghan and Charlie are enemies.
Right. And to me, I laugh because it's like, I've been bullied by the best of them, the best. And it didn't work. And it's not going to work with them. The more you try to tell me I can't criticize Israel, the more likely I am to do it, to focus on exactly what you're doing, right? Like, what are you doing that you're so defensive? You don't own me. I have my honest opinions, which is why I had credibility for the 2 years I've been defending them, right? And I still have that credibility. And I don't need lectures from my friends who are more pro-Israel than I am, or who are just American Jewish people who are concerned about what's happening. I don't need lectures on my coverage, okay? I'll call it like I see it. And you have no right to come on this show and demand a debate with me because I've said something you disagree with. It's my show, and I'll decide the coverage we do here.
Okay, so that was the most recent of the clips. I'm going to go back in time, just kind of showing the evolution of his opinion on this topic. I do want to note, before they had this part of the interview, they both said a number of times, we are 100% for Israel. We are 100% on their side. We want them to win. I didn't include that, but they did say that they're very strong in letting everyone know that they are pro-Israel. So let me show you a couple clips from his show. And this was recorded January of 24.
I don't care if you hate me. And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like, time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me.
Okay, and here's another clip from that same podcast. And he was very outspoken on Epstein. He had very, very strong opinions about who Epstein's affiliations were. And here's him talking about that.
That Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
Okay, and I have one more, and this is the clips. This is the oldest one. This is on Valuetainment, Patrick Bet-David show, and this was filmed October 13th of 23.
I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier, right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is. Yeah. And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools?
So I believe he was one of the first to make those claims, and it turns out he was right. And now that we could look back on that, it seems like the evolution that he was going through, he became more pro-Israel as time went on. That was my take from seeing what he was talking about. And also his audience tends to be on the younger side. He was doing a lot of events at colleges. Turning Point USA had a very young audience. I would say between 18 and 35, 40 was probably his main demographic. Would you say, Shane?
Yeah, I would say so.
And that is the demographic that is predominantly anti-Israel. And so that should be a big concern for Israel, the public opinion that is shifting so quickly. And then was there anything else you want me to include with this? I'll just put some of these up. A lot of posts. I guess he had told someone, this is secondhand information, but I'll let you read that top box. He had told someone allegedly that he thought they were going to kill him if he turned against them. And this was about a month ago. Someone kind of predicted something like this would happen. And do you want me to mention the reports from Israel?
Yeah.
He was one of the first people to make a statement, I think at the same time Trump did.
Yeah, this was at 3:02 p.m., I believe, Eastern time. And Netanyahu and Trump both posted at the exact same time about this. Right.
So they were, I guess the Jerusalem Times did break the story, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. So the Jerusalem Times was the first one to break the story.
And here's Ben-Gvir. He's a security secretary.
I'm not sure his current position, but he has held several high-ranking positions throughout Israeli history, and he is very influential, and he is also known as a terrorist.
Okay. And here's some points that someone posted about Charlie's, I guess, things he's said, his opinions that he has shared, and some information about the assassination.
Oh, and this one just goes into detail about his criticism of Israel's bombing of the Greek Orthodox churches in Gaza, which they probably also didn't like that either.
Right. Okay, so do you want to show this? This is just something Shane pointed out, the menorah.
So the Utah Valley University courtyard appears to be, constructed in the shape of a menorah. It even has the same number of tines and everything. So 4 on each side with a big one in the middle. And that appears to be the design of the UVU courtyard.
Okay. All right. And then you're going to share the logistics of the event, like the distances and things like that.
Sure. All right. So at the time, I had not yet seen any like maps or indications of the positions of the shooter. So I kind of had to recreate it myself. By the time I finished recreating it, I did see a couple of others that had done this. But we're going to go ahead and show what I made here. So that very first camera angle where we grayed out the impact, that was from about 50 yards away. And that was actually from this orange or yellow line here. So this is actually a one-story rooftop that the viewer was standing on, and he was about 50 yards from Charlie at the time. So that was the very first camera angle that we showed. And then the other camera angle that showed the guy on top of the building was actually taken from a sidewalk next to like a green dumpster type thing. And this is the angle that he had from the sidewalk looking past the Sparks Automotive building towards the Low C building where the shooter was actually perched on the corner. And now I also have another image here that shows the shooter's vantage point, and it was about 144 yards from where Charlie Kirk was sitting, and it was at about a 21-degree slope. And so it was kind of a downward position, but he had about 50 plus feet of elevation above the target. So, this looks like a slightly more difficult shot than what Thomas Crooks would have allegedly had to make. But the fact that it hit exactly in the jugular really does point to me that this is probably a professional hit, most likely done by an intelligence asset. Now, I do actually have some videos that I want to show here. Let's see here. So here is the positions. This is where the corner of the Low C building where the shooter was located. And there's a stairwell at the eastern corner of the building. And the witness said he saw him approach from the east and take up position at that corner. And so it looks like he probably gained access to the roof via the stairwell there. And you can see just the perfect angle that he had between the food court and the tree there, right at the fountain courtyard. And so, and then he left to the north, which would be right in this image. And so witness reports actually show him or say that he left to the north. And there is allegedly a surveillance video, which I have not yet been able to obtain, which allegedly shows him jumping off of the roof and fleeing on foot in the northern direction, which is the direction that they later found the gun. The gun was a 30-06, which is a rather large caliber. And judging by the impact that I saw, it was probably extremely high velocity and large caliber. But the aim was absolutely perfect. The infiltration, exfiltration, or insertion extraction was flawless. He got away clean, and they had 2 patsies to distract from. So it looks like it was a very well planned and perfectly executed operation to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also thinking it could have been a group for hire, an agency, so they didn't have people tracking, could have offered, 4 or 5 guys, $1 million. This is your mission.
That's true, but I doubt that intelligence agencies are likely to recruit outside of the agency. So they probably did use one of their own assets or an asset of an affiliated agency.
Okay. But I don't think we will find the true group or the actual shooter I think there is already an attempt to put someone as that person. There were a couple of shots of a younger guy dressed in black, but they didn't explain why they thought it was him, aside from he was dressed in black, and the guy on the roof looked like he was dressed in black, but it was not a great image. And I kind of do find it hard to believe that they don't know more, because there are satellites, there's surveillance, I'm sure, in this area. And for someone to have gotten from here by foot or by car and maybe gotten to a plane, I'm sure there's more information.
Yeah, they could have tracked it, but they didn't.
And maybe they don't want that to be known.
Right.
Possibly. I think the worst thing that could come about from this is that it'll further divide our country. Because right away I started seeing, the right blaming the left and the left blaming the right because of the guns, and then the left being too extreme. I don't think that's what this was about. I don't think it was some crazy person on the left or the right. I think this is there's a bigger, goal for this. And I think another goal is to silence opinions such as this and prevent people with certain opinions from voicing them.
I do think censorship is an aspect of the psychological operation that we're witnessing, but I also do think that surveillance and disarmament are also motives as well.
So you think they might, again, do a push for stronger surveillance, stronger online
Oh, absolutely.
surveillance?
Military policing of every city, not just major cities. I think we're going to see a very large crackdown.
Right. Okay, so yeah, a very sad day yesterday. And I believe this is the first, I would say, like, high-profile influencer to get assassinated. And, the fact that it was such a public event, I think it was designed to make a statement and, to make sure everyone knew everyone was making content, and stir up, these negative feelings and further divide us. Was there anything else that we wanted to?
Well, just real quick, I guess I could mention some of the things. So there is a lot of speculation online that some of these videos are AI generated. However, that's actually not the case. I did a deep dive last night into all of the analysis of that. And there are some artificial intelligence generated artifacts that appear in these videos, but it turns out this is actually done by the user's device itself. So if you have a newer iPhone, they often have a setting on there called AI enhancement, which actually enhances your images in your videos. And if you don't turn that off, then, like especially the new iPhones, it will generate AI artifacts. So we did see, the F disappeared from the freedom on his shirt. The microphone cord disappeared. His ring changed fingers, but those were actually all artifacts of the iPhone itself. And I don't think they were done intentionally by any human.
Okay, so that's just an accident.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll follow this story, and if anything worthwhile does come up, we'll do another report. But I felt like these were the most important things that we caught, and I felt it was important to voice this angle, because it doesn't seem like, especially like the larger networks, are not showing this angle, the Israel angle, and that might be because people are scared now. I'm not sure, but that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.